So you are all part of a community of scientists. You're here at this school where we have you write these scientific research papers, and so you are joining the community. Welcome. Welcome to the community of scientists. It's cool. It comes with some responsibilities. You're probably figuring out those responsibilities now. There's some things you have to do. You have to communicate in a way that other people can understand you. So that would be clearly, concisely, and simply. And you may want to argue that some of those are the same, but there's nuances there. Do all three if you can. You also need to, and this was added by 5th period, avoid sounding like you know better than everyone else. These are your peers now. You are on an equal playing field with them. You don't need to use things like, of course, and obviously. They're with you, so you don't have to point that out. And also, you have to make sure to give credit where credit's due. It's a little bit of that golden rule now. Treat others like you'd want to be treated. Your references and your citations need to be high quality. It is so easy to go in and highlight all your in-text citations and search for all those people in your references page. And when I'm done, if there's people in your references page that aren't highlighted, that's a problem. If there's people that aren't listed that I highlighted in the in-text citations, that is also a big problem. It's so easy to do correctly, but it's not easy if it's the last thing you do and you only give yourself 5 minutes before a deadline to do it. You actually need to take time to check that. You owe that to the community of scientists. Now, there's a lot more going on than this, but those are the things that I want you to keep in mind as you're writing your introduction. So, what is an introduction? Well, first, it's the first thing that comes in the 4 major sections of your paper, the body of your paper. There are 2 other sections. You can probably guess what they are. They are the abstract and the references. They come at the beginning and the end. But after the introduction and the main body of your paper is going to come the methods, then the results, then the discussion section, also known as the conclusion. So, your introduction, you've already done 2 assignments pertaining to your introduction, so you can probably guess what an introduction is doing. Think about that. So your introduction is doing a number of things. You had 2 assignments already. The first one starts with a problem. You know, salamanders are in trouble. Why? And so you talk about that huge problem and you narrow it down to factors that are causing that problem, and then your literature review continues on from there and focuses in on a factor and very quickly gets to the point of, salamanders and your IV. But in general, you're doing 3 things. You're giving your purpose, you're giving background information, and you're giving your reasons why you're studying what you're studying, and you're predicting what you're predicting, and all of that is known as your rationale. So, once you've done what you've already written at this point, after your paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 and your literature review, your audience should be ready to hear your hypothesis. So what really is a hypothesis? What goes in your hypothesis section? Well, here's one of the last sentences that might be in your hypothesis section is going to be something like, we predicted that. There should be something, when I say we predicted that, that's standing out in your head as like, oh no, why are you doing that? That's wrong. And that is that the hypothesis section is written in first person. You finally get to write with we's and ours instead of the other way around. But you will continue doing what you've done up to this point, which is use active voice and past tense. Because by the time someone's reading your hypothesis section, your hypothesis is in the past. Once your paper is published, you hypothesized long ago. So some examples of how to get started. It is kind of formulaic, but that's just the end of the paragraph. The beginning of the paragraph can be more, summing up for your reader that problem, that purpose, that rationale, the background information that you've been leading up to. Sometimes this also includes some methodology, because in real papers these days, they put methods at the very end, so any little relevant bits about your methods you put in this paragraph, you don't do that, because we're going to have you put your methods section as the very next section, and it's going to be called Site Description and Procedures for our IBET topic. So, the hypothesis still is a statement, but it's no longer an if-then statement. You're free of those restrictions now. But be careful that you still relate your IV to your DV. It's still a cause and effect relationship. And in the document on Blackboard for the instructions, I gave you some good examples and some not so good examples of both the paragraph, but also the IV and DV relationship.